Bowling alley screens when you get a spare. Bowling alley screens when you get a strike.
Alright guys, listen up. Ready for the sequel for the best video game story ever made? Please don't take that seriously. Hello everyone and welcome back to GameTalk, where we talk about games, new and old. And last week we saw that Tekken 1, while iconic and influential for the time, it doesn't really hold up today very well. But what about its sequel? It came out a year after the first, and does it improve? Or does it deprove? That's not a word, is it? Ah, yes, Tekken 2. Namco wasn't fucking around when they made this, as this came out a year after the first. And like I asked, does it improve? Does it improve? I can't fathom the amount this game did compared to the first in only a year. This game to me is just straight out impressive. But before we go too far, Tekken was a hit and became a staple to the uprising legacy to Sony's PlayStation. Tekken 2 was bound to happen to branch off of that success that the first one built. And since the first was pretty lackluster in terms of overall content when looking back over it, high hopes are definitely going into this review. Now, unlike Tekken 1, I actually revisit this game a lot more frequently than it. And from what I can remember, it vastly improves the original. But how does it? There's only one way to find out. But first, let's discuss the main plot points. And again, if you expect the plot to be good, get yourself checked. Recapping the events of the first game, a fighting tournament was started by a man known as Heihachi Mishima, with a large amount of prize money for the winner. To Heihachi's surprise, his son, Kazuya, faced off against him in the tournament final, and beat him as revenge for throwing him off a cliff when he was a boy. When Kazuya defeated his father, his heart was still full of rage, and the devil's blood continued to run through his veins. So Kazuya decided to throw his father off the same cliff that he was thrown off of. Now in Tekken 2, 2 years have passed. Kazuya is now the owner of the Mishima Zaibatsu, with Heihachi out of the picture. Kazuya in the shadows is now more powerful than ever, and decides to start his own fighting tournament with the prize money 1,000 times more than the first tournaments. During this power rush, Kazuya also falls for a woman named Kazama, who keeps Kazuya's dark side at bay. During all this, Heihachi uses his inhumane power to force himself to climb back up the cliff and enact his revenge against his son. Did you get that? Yeah, it's fucking stupid. However, I really like that Kazuya transitioned from being the main protagonist to the main antagonist of the game. And now the main character and protagonist is Heihachi. I know I clowned on the FMV in Tekken 1 and the intro saying that it was not only cringy but horrifying. Shit! What the fuck? This intro is okay. The FMV isn't that amazing, nor is it horrifying either. It has a lot more character though, and I love certain bits like King stumbling through the alleyways. In the lore, King was pushed beyond breaking point because of the death of a child in his orphanage. He became a drunken mess where Armor King, who King befriended, helps him back on his feet. Just these small little scenes with the backstory makes this intro have a lot more depth, and as the series kept progressing, each character became more important and more connected to the story. There are now 10 characters instead of 8 that you could play off right off the bat. All of them are the same as before, but with 3 new additions / replacements. Jack 2, which is the only replacement of the 10, which is an improved Jack. Lei Wulong, a member of the Hong Kong police force, which just how martial law is a Bruce Lee knockoff, Lei seems to be a Jackie Chan knockoff. Heavily inspired off of the film Drunken Master, with their appearance, personality, and moveset. And Jun Kazama, a wildlife protection agent. And of course, there are more characters to unlock as you progress. Most of these characters did appear in the first game, like Armor King, Anna Williams, Prototype Jack, which they fucking ruined. He was so cool in the first game. Why, Namco? Why'd you do this? But there are some new unlockable characters as well, such as Roger / Alex, genetically engineered creatures created by Dr. Boskanovich under Kazuya's order, Bruce Irvin, a Muay Thai kickboxer, Baek Do-san, a former Taekwondo champion, and one more which I'll get into later. So that's 25 playable characters in total. Alright, enough dilly-dicking around, let's get into the fighting. Oh boy, the fighting. I still can't believe it took them 1 year to improve the mechanics and the in-game fighting so greatly. No more slowness, no more input lag, and no more automatic stun locks, because now the AI isn't 3 times faster than you. See? Fuck you, Heihachi, how does it feel, you bastard? It feels so much nicer to play. Not to say it's all amazing though. It is still slightly clunky, but not incredibly clunky. Sometimes the moves you input won't work for some reason, and the physics just feel a bit off. And it is hard to blame that because this game was released in 1995 in arcades, and it doesn't feel bad, it just feels off. Kind of like eating a Big Mac with the pickles. It's not bad, it just feels like you shouldn't put that in your body. It's making me feel weird just thinking about it. With the faster gameplay, new mechanics have also been added. Like when you're grounded, you can roll towards the side to avoid low attacks from the opponent. This is a great feature, and it really emphasizes that this is a 3D fighter with 3D environments. Another new feature is the new type of throw. In Tekken, each character has two primary throws that you can do by either pressing square and X or circle and triangle. Sometimes characters will have other throws doing more damage. For example, Heihachi has a throw called Stonehead, which can be performed by inputting forward, then square and triangle. This feature applied for the first game, but in Tekken 2, a throw from behind can be performed. These throws will do an insane amount of damage, but are obviously hard to pull off. And according to their fighting style, each character's back throw will be very different. And there are so much more moves and combos to do. I think there's honestly double the amount of moves that you could do from the first game. Not just with the new characters, but with the old characters that appeared in the last game have their movesets extended. I mean, the fact that they've added a seppuku move for Yoshimitsu just speaks for itself. I did say that in Tekken 1, each character was unique in the way they played, as well as that all their fighting styles were different. But they've added so much more things to do. It literally comes down to not specific characters being better than others. Whichever character you like playing as is the better one. So yeah, it's really hard to do a tier list in terms of characters, unless you're doing it from a professional standpoint. And this continued to be a thing in Tekken, and this is why I love Tekken over every other fighter. Speaking of moves to do, there is a practice mode with a whole command list. This is one of my biggest issues with Tekken 1, and they fixed it. If that doesn't give you a raging boner, then I don't know what does. Okay, let's discuss the graphics. For 1 year, holy shit. No more disproportionate limbs, no more horrifying facial textures, no more Kuma. Like, look at him now. He actually looks like a bear. Yes, the graphics are obviously not good nowadays, but for a 1 year difference from the first game, it is impressive. This goes to show that Tekken 1 was a huge stepping stone for 3D models in games, and Tekken 2 improved on that and improved on that well. And better yet, I love the fact that in this game, each character has their own set stage location with its own dedicated music. And hey, most of the sub-bosses stages is from the original game soundtrack. Oh, that's just cute. Okay, this game looks a lot better, but can it exceed something that the first game did really, really well? How does this game sound? Fucking good is how it sounds. I believe this soundtrack is better than Tekken 1's. Tekken 2's soundtrack has so much darkness to it. The plot got darker as with the atmosphere of the game. Some tracks are still upbeat and catchy, but most fall under a dark, foreboding and atmospheric category. Just like the previous episode, I'm going to show you a few examples of this soundtrack, but check out the full thing and give it a big old kiss. Now here's the thing, I've mentioned this in the previous video, but I was scared of this game when I was younger, and I'm actually surprised that I'm not the only one that was. Kodikrus also explains this in his Tekken 2 video, definitely check that one out. This is a weird thing because this isn't the only non-scary game that scared me as a kid. Stuff like the boulder levels and Dingo Dial from Crash Bandicoot, the ridiculously difficult mine levels from Donkey Kong Country, the flood from Halo, all this shit along with some stages in Tekken 2 used to scare me, and the feeling kinda lingers to this day. Hell, I bet I could make a top 10 list on non-scary shit in games that used to scare me. This is one of those childhood fears that you can't really explain, but a good reason for it is the fear of losing. This game, along with all the other stuff I mentioned, was difficult, and because as I was a kid I wasn't very good at games, so I knew I was going to lose. So I'm guessing my explanation for this is I associated the music and the visuals to knowing that I'll lose. It's hard to explain, believe me, but if there's one thing that scared pretty much anyone in this game when they were kids, has to be I'll get to that later. In terms of arcade mode, it's basically identical to the first game, but slightly different. You'll verse a number of opponents, and after each victory, your character will perform a unique animation. But instead of 9 stages, there are 10 stages and 2 sub-bosses. Just like Tekken 1, Stage 8's opponent will be different depending on your chosen character. That sub-boss will be unlocked when you finish arcade mode. The second sub-boss will be the host of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, Kazuya Mishima. And on Stage 10, well, just watch.
Round 1. Fight!
Now, if that's not a good way to introduce the final boss, then I don't know what is. Up, Jinpachi? That's for a much later date. I love you. The final boss to Tekken 2 is simply known as Devil. Kazuya's devil form that takes over his body. And Christ, he is difficult. See what I did there? I said Christ, and you versed Devil. I'd say he's as difficult as Heihachi from the first game, but not as unfair and bullshit, so easier to beat. Devil ultimately plays very similar to Kazuya, but the bastard can fly and shoot lasers out of his face. This stage was damn scary when I was younger, and Devil just validated that for me. The dark and depressing tone to the music, accompanied by Kazuya's distorted screams from Devil, was something that I can't believe a mid to late 90s fighting game accomplished. I love atmosphere in games, and this game nails it. Just like the last game, each character gets an FMV cutscene after defeating the final boss. This time it's not as cringy and horrifying, and just like last time, there is only one canon ending, Heihachi's. And with Kazuya last time throwing Heihachi off of a cliff and smiling weirdly, you're probably thinking it's gonna be the same thing but with the roles reversed. You're half right. Heihachi throws Kazuya into a fucking volcano. What the hell? I think it's fair to say that Heihachi won the Mishima tossing into cliffs contest. My god, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever witnessed. And hey, he still smiles at the camera. And by the way, if you make memes, the ending cutscenes for Tekken 2 and Tekken 1 are a goldmine for those bowling alley screen memes. Other from the sub-bosses, there are 3 unlockable characters that are unlocked through different means. Roger and Alex are unlocked if you win stage 3 of arcade mode with a slight bit of health left, letting you beat them on stage 4. Okay, this is weird. How the hell is a kid in the 90s gonna figure that one out? Kazuya is unlocked when completing arcade mode with a sub-boss. Devil is unlocked when completing arcade mode with Kazuya. And you'd think we'd be done covering the content here. Hell no! I even said in my last video that this game is so much more than Tekken 1. There are some other modes to choose from as well as the arcade mode and the 2-player versus mode. The previously mentioned practice mode, which is actually really in-depth, with not just a dummy character and a command list, but demonstrations of combos, showing which area the attack is located, and button input replays. This practice mode exists not only to learn the combos and the stuff in the command list, but there are some secret moves as well, not listed anywhere just for you to find out yourself. There's not a lot of them, but when you do find them out, holy shit! Another cool mode is survival mode. In survival, an endless amount of characters constantly fight you with 1 round each. Your depleted health will also carry over to the next round, and you'll get short spurts of health boosts over each victory. This is a very fun mode indeed, and you'll be spending countless hours here, I'm telling you right now. But if you think that's the mode you'll be spending the most hours on, then we got the series staple, Team Battle Mode. And if you're a Tekken fan, you know. You fucking know. Team Battle Mode is where you have up to 8 players on a team, either randomly selected or selected yourself. I always like to select them randomly though, because I like to play as the characters that I don't know how to play as too much. And the aim is to eliminate all the opponent's team members' voice. This is one of the most addictive fighting game modes I've ever played. If you haven't played Team Battle Mode, you are honestly missing out. And we are not even done there. There are some certain cheat modes as well. If you go to arcade mode, or as a matter of fact any mode I'm pretty sure, if you hold select at the character select screen as you pick your character, when you load into the game, that is genius. And if you hold select as you win, holy shit, I'm officially scared. Now if you do the same thing as before, but this time hold L1 and L2 at the select screen, your character will be in a wireframe and you'll fight in first person. This is one of the most ridiculous cheat modes in a fighting game. This cheat mode is so weird as the controls don't really change depending on your perspective, but it is easy to get used to. However, I'm scarred from it, because if you do a move sending your opponent to the other side of the map and he starts running at you, okay, now we have to ask ourselves, does Tekken 2 hold up today as a good fighting game? Yes, but you can tell that this game has aged. Like I said, it's still a bit clunky and the physics are slightly off, but it still controls pretty well and is a fast-paced game. I just see this game as a damn impressive sequel. It might not be the best controlling fighting game nowadays, but for releasing 1 year after its predecessor with a whole bunch of new content, characters, and vastly improved gameplay mechanics and physics, just shows how Namco adapted from their already successful game. They had the core idea, now they just had to expand on it, and my god did they expand on it. They did everything they could to improve upon the original, and they did it with such class. Honestly, for the time, this could be the perfect fighting game, but it definitely doesn't hold up in the same way. Nevertheless though, Tekken 2 makes the good list and gets a 7 out of 10. I believe that the people that enjoy Tekken 2 nowadays are the veterans, the people who played it back in the day and have nostalgia for it. But I don't know, I don't think newcomers will enjoy this game if they go back to it. While I love this game to bits, it's dated. You can tell it's dated and the newcomers won't be attached to these controls. I don't think Tekken 2 is a good one to start off on. But what about Tekken 3? From what I can tell you right now, this game is amazing. But you'll have to find out why next week. See you then. If you're hearing this, then type chicken nuggets in the comments. That way I'll know that you've watched this video to the end. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on this video and share it around on social media. Subscribe with those notifications turned on. And definitely check out next week, where we'll be covering Tekken 3. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to yous before you know it. See you later.